Hello everybody, this is GameGuru Max live broadcast number 2. Now, as it is broadcast number 2, that effectively means we've had exactly one chance to try this. So this is our second attempt, and we still need a sound audio check. We've tried to do some previous tests, but there's nothing like a live, in-colour test of whether we've got sound or not. So if I can get a yes on the chat feed, which as you can see is slightly better this time. I have moved my chat feed to a secondary monitor so it doesn't interfere with your primary viewing and have a cascading smaller series of windows on your main screen. So now you should see the GameGuru Max web page, and I'm getting a comment from one of my team members that nobody can hear me. So I'm just going to wait and see if that is actually confirmed. And yes, we can hear you. So Rick is talking rubbish. Rick, will you stop messaging me, please? It is now live and you are part of the show. So that was Rick, by the way, one of the other members of the TGC crew. So this is GameGuru Max. It is a quick delve into... I apologise for Rick. He insists on completely ignoring instructions and messaging me live during a live broadcast. So if you see any more pop-ups and some bells and whistles, please try and ignore them, much like I'm going to try and do now. So what is the GameGuru Max live broadcast? Well, it's a quick look at the progress of the GameGuru Max development. The sneak peek videos are a little bit more polished and edited and concise, so you can see the highest resolution of graphics. The live broadcast is exactly what you've experienced so far. Basically a mishmash of Lee wittering on and having live presentation events happening every other minute. If anyone has actually stood on stage to present something to a large group of people, it's guaranteed that 50% of your presentation is going to go wrong. So if you accept that before you start speaking, you can take everything after that with a little pinch of salt. So what I want to talk about today, a couple of things. I just want to touch again on the terrain, which we covered briefly last time, and the progress that we've made so far on the terrain. But I also want to delve a little bit deeper into what I've been doing since the last live broadcast and go over some of the reasons why I was doing that and what the benefits are. And then a little sneak peek right at the end about the next steps in terms of the development. So right off the bat, I'm just going to jump into the first video, which I have asked. It's not a video actually. Before that, I just want to show you the a PDF that we were sent. You may not have read it. I mean, you probably would not have read it. It's from a GDC presentation called Terrain Rendering in Far Cry 5. And before I was given carte blanche to say this is exactly what we want to do, we had to find if the industry agreed with me, whether the things I was proposing actually make sense. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff I was talking about last time, in terms of being a node-based system to organise the height field data and how to texture it with texture splatting, and generally all of the details of the dev plan were actually mimicked in this paper. Coincidentally, but I can see why. There's a lot of common sense in the stuff I was thinking about, and it's great to see not only that it's an actual thing, but it's been produced and it's out there actually running the Far Cry 5 game. So we know that the ideas work. It's simply a case now of implementing it. But I just want to make it absolutely clear we are not reproducing all of the techniques of Far Cry 5. Their engineering team is huge and they've had years to work on it. We don't have that kind of a team, and we don't have that much time. But the underlying techniques that we're going to use are correct. And it also means that we'll future-proof the technology, which as we want to add more things, it will add on to a solid base. So just a little bit of reassurance that we've done our due diligence, the research has been thorough, we've found our techniques are sound, and now the prototyping begins. And I want to show you the video. First of, nothing to do with terrain, but certainly to do with what Mike, the programmer, is working on the terrain. has been doing. And the first thing you want to do is get familiar with the Wicked engine and its technology. Absolutely the right thing to do. I'll just keep playing that a few times because it's only a short video. I asked him to prepare at very short notice. And you can see all the different material types and reflection terms and emissive types. You may also notice in the distance you've got that really nice water. That looks good. And of course the sky you saw last time. And so that was really something that Mike created really quickly just to sort of get a feel, get a handle on rendering, on textures, on effects, on shadows, and all the things that he is going to need to tap into in order to create this new terrain system from scratch. There's a lot of cross disciplines when you think about when someone's doing terrain. They also need to understand how those shaders are going to be modifiable, how the textures come in and get rendered, and the objects, etc. But the second video is a little bit more pertinent. This is an early prototype. We've done more since, but this is the one of the prototypes that we managed to create a video of. And as you can see, the terrain is very different from what you see in GameGuru Classic. Again, this is a prototype. For quite a while, actually, you're only going to be seeing stuff in its prototype form because it only gets glued together and then homogenized into the final software towards the middle and then towards the end. So what I'll be probably showing you for a while are prototypes. And so as you can see, we've already got the idea of generating the height data, turning it into geometry and rendering it to the screen. The work that's been done right now is to now look at performance. How much can we shuffle onto the GPU with the new techniques and LODs and stitching the LODs and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing, always with an eye on that performance. We want it to look better. That's, you know, everybody wants that, but we do not want to sacrifice performance in the process. So stage one, before we get too deep in any particular area, is to look at the performance and using the GPU for that. So that's a little bit on the terrain. We'll show a little bit more when we get a bit further along, or maybe when the terrain is in the software. But what I want to talk about a little, moving on, is my sort of area, what I'm doing. And I've spent quite a bit of time merging the source code repositories. I may have mentioned it, certainly mentioned it in the forums, but may have mentioned it in the first live broadcast, which is effectively taking GameGuru Classic source code and then the GameGuru Max source code that's being worked on, allowing it so only the things that we've added, the new features, the new graphics engine, the new terrain system, that stuff is separate. But all the other stuff that you still want to use, like your Lua scripting and all your commands and all the things that doesn't really matter which graphics engine you're using, we wanted that to be the same source code. That's where when we make fixes and we do functional additions to those core elements, GameGuru Classic gets those features and those fixes as well. I think that was really important, and it's something that I wanted to do, I was going to do, but didn't really come across when we first announced Max. There is no, we are leaving Classic and moving on to Max. Classic is still a primary ingredient in our product lineup. Max will be for the higher graphics cards and Classic will be for the 32-bit and the lower end systems. And I just want to demonstrate, this is all of the fixes, just the highlight fixes, since the March update. And you'll be getting this as an update in May, but more about that in separate announcements. But look at the division. These fixes, normally, if we'd just sort of, let's just fix Classic and then do Max separately, all of these will be on Classic and we'd have to redo half of them again for Max. But because we've done the source code merge first, all of these, as you can see, I won't go through them individually, pertain to the old systems that Classic will have, like the old terrain system, the old importer and the old character creator. So those have to be in Classic, those are Classic only. But look at all of the things that, all of these items, they are certainly for Classic, they'll be in the May update, but you also get them in Max. So when Max actually gets released, all of these extra things don't have to be done again. We added them once, they're in the single unified source code, they'll compile it to Classic, but then they'll compile it to Max. So you can see how that's going to be cool going forward. That means adding functionality and doing fixes, you will benefit both in Classic and Max at the same time as we do the work. And it means we only have to do the work once. And for a small team, that's a really good tick. So that's what I've been working on. That work is now done, and the proof In the pudding, of course, is the release of the May update, which we're planning roughly for around next week. A beta and a public preview is now out on Steam, so if you want to download either of those builds, you can check that version. And that version is the merged version. The stuff in there that, you know, there was 1,000 ways that could go wrong, and I'm really pleased with the result. But please do check out the public preview. Let us know that everything's all right in the world of Classic. And rest assured that when you're playing that, large chunks of that core functionality, it will be the same functionality in Max. And therefore, you can see how you can be forwards compatible when you migrate your projects from GameGuru Classics eventually to GameGuru Max. So that's the merge. And finally, I'm just looking at the clock. I think I probably started this broadcast about 4 minutes past 4, so you might be able to get a few extra minutes out of me. But the final thing I want to show you is where we're going next, the next thing. And this is in the form of a lovely little picture. Now, let me try and explain what you're looking at. See the green box? There's a green box here. And you've got inside this box, that's what I'm calling the render area. Consider that the render area. Everything outside of that box is what I would call the UI. Now, the UI is actually driven with a technology called ImGUI, or Dear ImGUI. And that actually is tied to its own set of DirectX 11, in our particular case, calls. And the current theory that I have, and the one I'm going to run with until it gets disproved, is that I can actually get the ImGUI and the DirectX 11 elements to stay up and running when I strip out the old graphics engine. So we basically throw out the graphics engine, but hopefully the ImGUI UI will just stay put. And that's great. That means all of our buttons, all of our dialogues, all our menus, all the things that you can like click and operate and read will still be there in the editor. And then inside the green box, that's the new graphics engine, which for a time will be blank. And then eventually you'll start to see some terrain, then you'll start to see some objects, and then some playing with lights and shadows and things like that. But I just wanted to show you the stages that you're probably going to see this. The first thing you'll see is it'll look like the software's gone backwards. ImGUI will still be there, you'll still see the UI, but that little green box area would be blank. And then you start to see the contents of that Wicked Engine area build up as we start adding stuff to the new graphics engine and as the new terrain system evolves. But you can see the power and the benefit. We don't have to sort of start completely from scratch. All of the functions are almost waiting there for you. So when you press a button, all of the code which says what that button should do and all the variables and the data structures that all depend on that functionality. All that compiles. That compiles now and it all works. It's just the bit that actually says, now draw something to the screen. It's that bit that we're actually pulling out and replacing with the new graphics engine. So you'll see that middle area evolve as we go through sneak peek videos and live broadcasts. Now, I'm looking at the clock. I think now is a good time. I think it's been 11, maybe 11 minutes of live chat. Now, I want to save 4 or 5 minutes to actually read the comments. I was going to nominate a moderator to effectively collect all of the questions and then stream them in on some sort of secondary PM channel so I can get straight to the questions and not have to skim through and read, because you often get this sort of as I'm trying to read through all the comments. But I haven't done that. If someone wants to post on the forum channel, as what we're going to do is at the end of this broadcast, it will be recorded by YouTube. It will then be posted on the GameGuru forum, so you can review and repeat the video. But underneath it will be all the answers to the chats. So inside that forum, if someone wants to post a tutorial link on how to get a moderator to collect all the questions as they're being asked and so I can see them quickly, I think that would really make these live broadcasts super efficient and slick. But we don't have any of that, so I'm just going to go to the top of the chat and skim down and look for questions relating to the R&D on the terrain that we've been doing and the progress so far, details of the merge, and my plan for the next stages, and see if anyone agrees or disagrees with me. So we'll just skip all the part where everyone can hear me speak. I hope it's still the case and people can still hear me. No questions at the moment. Just compliments, looking good. Here we go. Here's one. Now you scroll and then if someone posts, it actually jumps to the bottom. What's scripting like to work with in GameGuru? Bit of a newbie question that. There are a lot of videos on Lua scripting with GameGuru Classic, and it'll be identical for the most part in GameGuru Max. So go onto our YouTube channel. There is another playlist, which was our Twitch broadcast, and there's 60 of them. And a lot of them I do delve into Lua quite a bit at various difficulties. So do check that out. You find out a lot about how scripting actually works with GameGuru. GameGuru is a so interesting app, but Unity is for more realistic games and better for learning. Sure, certainly check out Unity, get a handle on all the tools available to you, and then when you've decided which is the one for you, then use that one. You really have to go out and do your own research, because there's a lot of stuff out there. It's horses for courses. It's like, it's good for some people but not for others, and GameGuru is great for some people but not for others. It's really down to your own personal preference. Here's a question from D32. Can we have RTX ray tracing, please, as a separate upgrade? Also support for RTX 2080 series cards. We did look at RTX, and in fact, Wicked Engine does support real-time ray tracing. Problem is, it needs some ferociously expensive card to run RTX, and we want to support enough people. We want to support people who have a card from, say, 4 or 5 years ago, which right now is around the GTX 960. We may increase that number. We've not set that in stone, but that's generally our aiming. And even though the GTX 960 might be able to do some real-time ray tracing, it would be dog slow. It'd be like looking at screenshots. So we are not planning to support RTX for Max, and it's not on our roadmap for now. I think there's a lot of important things we can put in front of that based on what the community want and have asked for quite a while now. Yes, just to confirm, it will be saved to the YouTube channel so you can watch it later, so don't worry about missing anything now, and you can repeat this anytime you like. Here's a question. Can you fix the latest sound issue? Setting global sounds volume to 0, you can still hear it. Just post them on the GitHub. We've been quite consistent, actually, since March, when we fixed all the bugs. New bugs have been popping up, and if you look at the GitHub issues now, there are literally only 2 bugs left. We've been keeping on top of that, which I'm quite proud of. So in the May update, that will mark more fixes, and there's only actually 2. So if you do have a bug and it's still in the public preview, please do post it on GitHub, and we'll attend it there, because then we can ask specific questions and get ways to reproduce it, etc. Will Max work under Linux or Linux Wine? No. GameGuru Max is a Windows 10 DirectX only title. It's not going to be cross-platform. We're not planning support for Mac or Linux. It's quite a lot of work to do a games engine, so we're pretty much sticking with Windows 10. So I hope you're going to forgive us for that. Going to scroll down a little bit more. Here we go. Will there be an update for the alpha in this month of May that includes the correct functioning of the enemies that I have for the Classic, so that I can enjoy... And it scrolled again. And can enjoy my assets, Classic GG and GG Max. Yes, there will be an alpha in May. Will it be able to import everything that you've done in Classic and moved on to Max? Probably not. These are alphas. Alphas are scary things indeed. You may get an alpha that's looking like it's doing really well. Then the next alpha, everything disappears. This is alpha. It's frontier territory. If you are not comfortable with stuff that breaks quite a lot, best not to really invest too much time in the alphas. Certainly download them, check them out, but you don't really want to be trying porting your stuff across, except for research purposes. Absolutely no idea if you'll be able to do the things you want to do in terms of porting them over. I'm going to guess no, because I'll be spending my time pulling the old engine apart, and so it's basically going to step backwards before it actually goes forwards. So I would just bear that in mind. Don't expect anything that we would call function complete until we start calling them betas. Will Wicked be in the next alpha build? Yes, there will be some wickedness in the next alpha build. Can't say how much, but you'll know soon enough. Question, still DirectX 11 and Win 7? No, it's Windows 10. We've dropped Windows 7. We did that because we had to support Windows Mixed Reality, which has a minimum specification of Windows 10 and some other requirements. So there's no Windows 7 for Max, But yes, we are using DirectX 11. Question from Jarek, is camera no going to be a separate entity? Can we have many cameras for cutscenes? No. Is camera no going to be a separate entity? Well, if I can reinterpret that, would you be able to drop in cameras as separate entities and then get the render of those cameras and use them in the game? That's not planned for Max, and that's not on our roadmap. It's a good idea. Certainly add it to GitHub as a feature request, but it's not something we're planning to do for Max. Will the character creator allow for sitting and other animations? Yes. When you create a character, you'll be able to stack your own animations. And if you have some artistic skills and you use the rig that we provide you and you can create your own animations, then you can import those animations and stack them and then use the script to animate them any which way you want as per the logic that you've created yourself. But they won't be as standard in our characters. There's something you'll have to import yourself because there's 1,000,001 animations you just might want. Please can you drop DirectX format? We can't, because we need to maintain backwards compatibility, and we have literally tens of thousands of objects that are in X format and they do need to be loaded into Max, so we're keeping that backwards compatibility. It's no detriment if you just want to stick to GLTF and FBX. Just be aware that we have to maintain a lot of legacy stuff so we can keep that backwards compatibility. The questions are coming thick and fast. I like questions. I can answer questions all day long, but I have looked at the clock. I have run out of time. If this was a road, I've left the road. I've gone over the cliff and I'm now hurtling to my death. And I will be told off if I keep wittering on. So as per usual, at the end of my time, any questions that haven't been answered live vocally, I'm going to cut and paste the entire chat and I'm going to answer them all in the forum. So just keep an eye out in the next day or two on the GameGuru forum thread for, you'll see it'll call number 2 broadcast answers. And then just scroll down, you'll see your question and my answer. So you'll get all the answers. So don't worry if I didn't answer you today. I will be able to answer all of them through the GameGuru forum. So I think my timing is right. I don't really want to cut you off, but I am absolutely sure I think I've exceeded my 15 minutes allocation plus my extra 5 minutes of grace. So I hope this was of use. Please do tell me if you think all of this is a bit of a waste of time and I should just stick to sneak peek videos. I do like the interaction of the live chat and the video broadcasting. It reminds me a little bit of the quickfire Discord stuff, which is also pretty useful. So do give us your comments and let me know what you think. So until next time, which is 2 Wednesdays away from now. So next Wednesday will be a sneak peek, and then the Wednesday after will be another live broadcast 3. You are quite welcome to post your request, what you want me to talk about. You know, 15 minutes goes very quickly, so there's something super urgent that you think I can reveal, and it's the right thing to talk about because we'll have something to show. Please do make those requests and I will factor that in to my thought processes for the next live broadcast. So until then, I'm going to see if I can find the end stream button. I hope this format was a little better than the first one, and hopefully the third one but even more slicker. And if you are a moderator who wants to volunteer those services to collect all the questions, again, use the forum and let me know. So until next time, and certainly next Wednesday,